Our Monaco Grand Prix F1 driver ratings. 78 laps. We have analysed each and every one of them to bring you this driver ratings episode, haven't we, Tommy?
We sure have driver ratings of qualifying, basically, because not much change. Like I said in the main podcast, first time the top 10 have ever remained in the same order. So it was really all about qualifying, even more extreme than normal at Monaco.
Utterly depressing, but don't worry, I'm not going to talk about the race again, really. Well, not the 77 laps of procession, but we're going to go and start with Kevin Magnussen. Well, this will be interesting, won't it? This will get a bit of debate going. Qualified, disqualified, but was 15th. Started 20th and didn't finish. It's gonna be a zero from me. It's gonna be a big fat zero. Now, I know that there are people of the opinion that Sergio Perez saw Kevin Magnussen and decided to delete him into the wall. We'll get on to Perez's side of the incident. For K-Mag, I don't care what Perez has done, okay? I don't care that he looked in the mirror. I'm talking about K-Mag right now, and it was the most idiotic attempt at a move you could have possibly done at Monaco on lap 1, turn 1. Why are you doing it? What do you have to gain? Apart from obviously risking everything and trying to get past Perez, who will probably beat you anyway if we're going to have a normal race. Let's be honest here. Oh, God, it's just so... He's lucky. He's lucky that it's a racing incident, as we've discussed in the race podcast, but it is a zero.
I've also gone for a zero for Kevin Magnussen. You've kind of summed it up, really, that the move was never on. It's very brave to do, first lap of Monaco. And just to add insult to injury, it's also taken his teammate out of the race. You know, the Monaco Grand Prix, it's a long race. You're already starting at the back. Just chill, because it all comes down to the pit stops. If you want to do something wild, stay out for 77 laps on the same tyre and then pit at the end. If you want to do something wild, do that. He is literally becoming like Pastor Maldonado status now. He's a good driver. Like, he's been a good driver in the past, and we were all applauding him when he came back for Haas and he got that pole position and hey, K-Mag's back. And now he's just become like a laughing stock. He has become like the meme crash guy on the grid.
The fans gave a zero as well. So big fat zeros. Clean sweep. Sorry, K-Mag, your average has taken a hit. Nico Hülkenberg now also was disqualified in qualifying, started 19th and did not finish, as we've already mentioned.
Gone for a 5 out of 10 for Nico Hülkenberg. He's obviously an extremely difficult driver to analyse, but boy did he get past Perez well before he got involved in the incident. Almost got past Perez before the crash. Very unlucky. Qualified 12th. Normally before the disqualification, which is a decent result. Hard to say about his race because it didn't last very long.
It did not. I'm also going to give him a 5 because it was... I was contemplating a 6, but went for a 5. Qualifying was decent once again, was 12th, then got disqualified for a technical infringement. And then, yeah, DNF'd. So 5 for him, and the fans also gave him a 5. Zhou Guanyu. Qualified 20th, because that's where he finished qualifying. Started 18th after the two Hasses got disqualified. And finished 16th. 4 out of 10 for Zhou. I am taking into account that the car is an absolute dustbin. But also, qualifying last again, I can't give him a 5. I just can't. He even said he didn't even get held up in qualifying. And he did a 13-0. I mean, that is just... He was half a second off Bottas, I think it was. So... It's a 4. It's not looking good for Zhou.
No, I've gone for a 4 out of 10 for Zhou as well. This maybe isn't the right podcast to sort of discuss Zhou because no one was able to have a normal race. But I am getting a bit sort of sick of him just being last always in qualifying. It seems like he's qualified 20th so much now. The stake is awful. It's the worst car on the grid. But if you want to keep your seat, you need to have a little bit of something about you. And even the drivers that we roast sometimes at least have those, even if it's once a year, have that great standout result. But Zhou just doesn't seem to be delivering at all at the moment.
Certainly isn't, and the fans gave Zhou a 5. Valtteri Bottas qualified 19th, started 17th and finished 13th.
Gone for a 6 out of 10 for Bottas, half a second clear of his teammate, and at least he made some moves. He made a move, which got a sarcastic applause when we were watching it in F1 Arcade, which was quite funny. Nothing huge to shout about, but it's not an absolutely awful weekend. So it's more than just your baseline 5.
Yeah, you've changed my mind. I've gone for a 6 then as well, just because I feel like Bottas is destined for 5s throughout the entire season unless something happens. So yeah, 6 out of 10 from me as well. As you say, it was slightly above average to what you would expect that state car to achieve. Either or, Bottas, well done, 6 out of 10. And the fans gave him a 5. Yuki Tsunoda qualified 8th, started 8th, finished 8th. And I've gone for a 9 out of 10 for Yuki Tsunoda. Fantastic weekend. There's not a lot more that he could have achieved or where he was. I haven't gone for a 10 because it's not quite the standout performance and he was an absolute mile away from the top 7. But it's still a very, very good weekend from Yuki. Qualified incredibly well. And that's it. That's the race. Well done, Yuki. 9 out of 10.
I've also gone for a 9 out of 10 for Yuki Tsunoda. It was another best of the rest performance. You can argue our Aston even in that Formula A, because obviously he's finished ahead of them now, and he's picked up so many points this year. He's having a really, really good, perhaps even an underrated season.
No, I wouldn't say underrated, mate.
You say that, but if we do, but no one else does.
Okay, well done to Yuki. The fans gave Yuki an 8 out of 10. Shocking. Daniel Ricciardo qualified 12th, started 12th, finished 12th.
Gone for a 6 out of 10 for Daniel Ricciardo. He's done all right, to be fair to him. I think sometimes it would be, I'm not just trying to like defend him here because I know a lot of people go, oh, he's absolutely washed and you need to stop defending him. But 12th isn't awful. It's not great, but I do think some of it is Yuki Tsunoda driving exceptionally well as well. You know, he's not had one of those races like sometimes he does where he's had an absolute shocker, but it's still kind of a okay performance. So I've gone for a 6.
Yeah, it's difficult. I'm also going to lock in a 6, but it's a very marginal 6 because, you know, he's finished 12th, but he's finished ahead of Bottas, Stroll, who had a puncture, Sargent and Zhou. So it's not exactly a weekend when the RB is quite clearly towards the top of Formula B.
You've changed it to a 5 for me.
All right, okay, 5 for me 5. As well then. You've put me over the edge as well with that borderline 6, sorry. So yeah, 5 for the pair of us then. Sorry, editor, because it just a weekend again. Lost it in qualifying. Couldn't make any positions up. Got stuck behind Alonso, who was driving at 40 miles an hour around the streets of Monaco, and that ruined his race really. So not the best weekend for Daniel Ricciardo, and he really needs to pick it up now because after that one little glimpse of hope. Danny Rick's back. He's had his chassis swapped out and he's feeling it all over again. And now Yuki's dominating him again. The fans also gave Daniel a 5. Logan Sargent, qualified 15th, started 15th, finished 15th. I've gone for a 4 out of 10 for Logan Sargent. Just come on. Please. Wake up, Logan. Do something. Also, Williams, what are you doing? Putting him on the same set of tyres at the restart. I don't get that at all. Just finishing 15th, you know, he beat Zhou. Whoop-de-doo. Whilst your teammate's scoring points, no more to be said.
Yeah, I've gone for a 5 for Logie Sarge.
That's crazy.
Why?
How are you giving him a 5 for 15th?
Because it wasn't his fault that he was on an absolutely awful strategy, and I can't give him this. I can't give him the same as
driving, Tommy. I'm sorry, but
but I can't give him the same as Zhou Guanyu, who I think was last by.
Zhou is driving a quite literal paper mache car.
Yeah, I know, but don't get me wrong. It's not much of a 5, but
I can't give him the same as around Monaco.
Yeah, because he was on a terrible by Stroll, who was on and
Bottas
55 quicker things.
55 quicker things.
No,
Bottas overtook him as well.
I went for a 5.
That's fine.
That's my opinion.
It's fine.
We're allowed to
but
disagree.
people want to hear us go at it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Let's not be all amicable. I'll come at you. Let's do it.
At the end of the day, it's all down to qualifying. Is qualifying, I've given him 4s and stuff for being the P20 merchant that he is, where he always qualifies 20th. So yeah, it's a 5.
I should say that Logan actually qualified 17th, didn't he? But of course, with the Haas disqualifications, it's made it all a very, very confusing. But either or, the fans gave Logan a 5. Alex Albon qualified 9th, started 9th, finished 9th.
And he's getting a 9. What a drive from Albon. This is the Albon that we saw last year, where been waiting to turn up, has to be said. Great drive. I say great drive. Great qualifying, which resulted in him being able to just stay ahead. And it's great points for Williams on a track that we're used to Williams kind of being like, well, this is going to be their worst track, Monaco. They're known for being amazing at Monza. So a very good drive from Alex.
Well done, Alex Albon. I have also gone for a 9 out of 10. Score points. That needs to be... that's probably why I've been so harsh on Logan, is that Alex has gone ahead and absolutely performed beautifully in qualifying. All over the back of Tsunoda. I watched his intervals and he was basically 3/10 behind Tsunoda the entire race, it felt like. But obviously couldn't get through because Monaco. And yeah, drove incredibly well, so deserving of a 9. The fans gave him an 8. Esteban Ocon. Qualified 11th, started 11th, didn't finish. 0. 0 out of 10 for Esteban Ocon this weekend from me. And the reasons are team orders. He was told not to overtake Gasly. He did. He stuffed it up, understeered, crashed into his teammate, and destroyed his own car. Is he deserving of losing his seat for Canada? Absolutely not, but we'll get onto that in another podcast. Don't you worry about that one. But yes, you can't forgive Ocon for that one.
Yep, I've gone for a 0 out of 10 as well for Ocon. It is incredibly stupid when, unlike K-Mag's move, I would argue that move was maybe a little bit more on, but it's still very brave. And if it had been on another car, like a Williams or whatever, you'd have gone, oh, that's a bit dumb, but fair enough. Like, it's your only chance to make a move. But if there has been a discussion beforehand of do not do this, and Ocon's already got this massive reputation of being not very good with his teammates, it's catastrophic, really, for his career, I think.
And the fans also gave him a 0. God, I don't think we've ever had 2 zeros, but here we are. Sorry, Esty Bestie. Next up, Pierre Gasly. Qualified 10th, started 10th, finished 10th.
I've gone for an 8 out of 10 for Pierre Gasly. I can't give him a 9 because I think his brilliant lap in Q2 showed that maybe the Alpine did have pace to beat Tsunoda, also Albon, but it's still a good performance to get a point for the tractor that is Alpine. So well done, Gasly.
It's a very good point, yeah, because of course we are putting more weight on qualifying, if not all of the weight on qualifying. And Pierre Gasly's 10.8 he did in Q2 would have been, well, within 400ths of Yuki Tsunoda's Q3. And you think track evolution, there was definitely time on the table for Gasly. But instead, still gets his first points of the season, I think it is. I'm sure he'll be still happy to at least get something after he saw his teammate doing a Rocket League pose in front of him. So, Gasly, 8 out of 10. And the fans also gave him an 8. Lance Stroll, qualified technically 14th because of Hulkenberg's qualification, started 13th and finished 14th. He lost a position, that's crazy. I am going for 2 out of 10 for Lance Stroll, mainly because his own error ruined his race. He turned in too early, got a puncture. That was his race done. He had his teammate playing the team game for him, and he didn't deliver when, well, not that he may have had even an opportunity to overtake for P10, but the opportunity was there. That for me is not as bad as binning it into your teammate, but it's still contact with the wall, which then ruins your race. So that's why I've gone for a harsh grade.
I've gone for a 4 out of 10 for Lance Stroll. Yeah, downgraded for the mistake that cost him, I think, in qualifying as well. Alonso's had another shocker in qualifying. It's all very close there, so you think Lance has to kind of step up and has a car, even though the Aston isn't doing great. An amazing lap could probably put you in the mix of like the Alpines, and when Alex Albon's qualifying 9th, you think there is a chance there to get a point. But then one of the few to actually make a a mistake in the race as well.
The fans gave Lance a 4. Fernando Alonso now qualified 16th, started 14th and finished 11th.
I have gone for... Oh, I don't know if I'm biased here and gone for a 5 because 11th isn't that bad.
Get that down immediately. I don't even need to start explaining to you because I can tell you for a fact I've not gone for a 5.
Let me just check my other results. Who have I given 5s for? Okay, fair. Driving a car, yeah, that is an Aston Martin, it's a 4. Because, yeah, qualifying is really bad. That's where it's all game over in Monaco. 11th isn't actually a bad result, but when you look at the fact that who has finished 8th, 9th and 10th, Aston should be there getting points. A worrying time for Aston Martin, I think. It's another... It feels deja vu from last year that they've upgraded the car and then just going backwards.
Well, quicker deja vu than last year. At least they had a time in the sun, but now they really haven't had much at all. I've gone for a 4 out of 10 for Fernando as well. Qualifying was, again, not like what we expect from Fernando Alonso. Just not good enough. So yeah, 4 out of 10 for Fernando, and the fans also gave him a 4. Oscar Piastri qualified 2nd, started 2nd, finished 2nd. It's a 9 out of 10. You actually look at the sectors, the best sectors that Oscar did over qualifying, he could have got pole. And he could have been the winner of the Monaco Grand Prix. But he didn't deliver to the level of which Charles did in that Q3 last lap. So started 2nd, but obviously it's still an amazing weekend. I'm just kind of saying why I haven't given him a 10 over what I've given him a 9. And kept the pressure up, fell off towards the end, but the beauty of Monaco, it didn't matter.
I've also gone for a 9 out of 10 for Oscar Piastri. A brilliant drive from him. I do agree with you that pole could have been on, which is why it's not a 10, because obviously if he'd got pole, we might be sat here saying that he's won the Monaco Grand Prix. So
Charles would have got a great start up the inside. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Yeah, exciting times for him and McLaren. I'm excited to see what he can do for the rest of the year now.
Absolutely. The fans gave Oscar a 9. Lando Norris qualified 4th, started 4th, and let me guess, where did he finish? Oh yeah, 4th.
Gone for an 8 out of 10 for Lando Norris. I guess he's probably going to be disappointed that he didn't get a podium, particularly with Max not in the race. Of course, Sainz was fortunate to grab that back, but
I know we didn't see him on the camera, mate, but Max was still in the race. Just so you're aware, like he was there.
Yeah,
he just wish he'd brought a pillow.
Yeah, exactly. It was weird to see a race where he was just anonymous and there was no one. I guarantee even the most pessimistic fans of Formula One, there was never a single % of you that thought Max was ever going to win that race, which is so rare. So, yeah, Lando is an 8.
It is an 8 out of 10 from me as well. Missed out a little bit in qualifying. It was just over a 10th. And then he was stuck because it's Monaco. What more can you say? I don't think anything really happened apart from that in Norris's race. Just chilled. So yeah, 8 from me and an 8 from the fans as well. Carlos Sainz qualified 3rd. Started 3rd. Finished 3rd. It's an 8 out of 10 for Carlos Sainz. For me, a very lucky boy though. Wowee, is he a lucky man after the red flag coming out so that it reset the positions. Because without that, he would have been in serious trouble indeed. But yeah, managed to get a good start and then drove 77 laps of free practice 4 and finished 3rd. Great effort. 8 out of 10.
Yeah, 8 out of 10 for me. Apologies in advance that a lot of our ratings are very similar, but there was no race, so there's nothing to discuss.
4 because he didn't actually make any overtakes in that race.
Yeah, exactly. There's so little to discuss in this race. It is all down to qualifying, and he wasn't on Charles Leclerc's level, but very lucky man to carry on in the race, and he did a very good job actually in the race of what he needed to do, where he was kind of making sure that Lando. The gap with Russell and Lando couldn't drop into it. Not that they'd have been able to pass him anyway, but at least he tried something to make sure that never happened.
The fans also gave Carlos an 8. Charles Leclerc qualified 1st, started 1st, finished 1st.
I've gone for a 9 out of 10 for
You
Charles
can
Leclerc.
get in the bin. Just put yourself directly into
I couldn't even
the
do
incinerator.
it as a joke because
No, I
it's
know.
a 10. Yeah, it's a 10. Under all the pressure, I know essentially he got, it's unfair to say got given it on a plate because he still had to drive the thing, but it's all done in qualifying and he delivered in qualifying, and I don't think the Ferrari was not miles clear of the field. It was a lot of it was down to Charles Skill. He's always been really good at Monaco, delivered in qualifying, and yeah, he got fortunate with the fact that the red flag basically went, well done, the race is over, all you need to do, Charles, is make sure you get round turn 1 with that Piastri ahead of you and you've won, which is exactly what he did. So there's nothing you can say other than a 10.
Absolutely not. It is a 10 out of 10. What a beautiful man. Drove those 78 laps beautifully. He is the winner of the Monaco Grand Prix. What more do you need to say about that? But qualifying was where he had to deliver. It was close. It wasn't an easy given like we perhaps thought it might have been after practice. We thought Ferrari maybe 3/10 clear with Charles, but it was a lot closer. Oscar did have an opportunity, as we mentioned earlier, but it was Charles that was on pole. Great clean starts both times. Didn't even give Oscar really a sniff of a chance into turn 1, and then drove the rest of the race lovely. The fans also gave him a 10 out of 10. George Russell qualified 5th, started 5th, finished 5th. It's an 8 out of 10 for George Russell. I think he had actually a very good weekend. Qualified very well, and the end. I do wonder, not just more specific, not with George, but Mercedes in general. This is more to do with Hamilton, to be honest with you. But how they've not used George to enable Hamilton to jump Verstappen is absolutely beyond me. Or at least open up the opportunity. Because Hamilton pit into the gap. George was in front of Max. George was not told to slow down or to manage the gap or whatever to try and let him know, by the way, Hamilton's pitting and we think Max is going to pit. They didn't. I'm very concerned that Mercedes have no idea what they're doing.
I got for a 9 out of 10 for George Russell. I think it was
saucy,
a very good drive. Yeah, got the maximum out of not a great Mercedes. Obviously took those mediums very far, but then how much of that is amazing and just the nature of Monaco? But he did manage the pace well to be able to do it still. Made no mistakes with Max behind him. Yeah, very good drive from George.
And the fans gave George an 8. Lewis Hamilton qualified 7th, started 7th. Finished 7th.
I've gone for an 8 out of 10 for Lewis Hamilton. He was another one that I think was unlucky by Mercedes not looking like the Mercedes of old and just making these like silly errors that you feel like a team like Red Bull wouldn't do, or even Ferrari now, who are maximizing the result all the time. Why they weren't? I know there's the argument that Hamilton should know that he's racing Max, but why there wasn't this like hammer time? This is the only chance, and this is literally our only chance in the Grand Prix to make an overtake.
Yeah,
go for it. Like they could even tell him like, if you're worried about binning it in the wall, don't go for it. But this is if you want to go for it, this is your only chance to overtake Max Verstappen. Go absolutely ham, because Hamilton was like almost backing off around some of the corners because he had no idea that it was even a chance, and
he was just shocking the tyres in.
My God, like Mercedes, they are a shadow of their former self with this stuff.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Completely agree. I've gone for a 7 for Lewis Hamilton because I can't give him the same as George Russell because George did do slightly better. But yes, I don't know what they're doing. Speaking to Hamilton, saying outlap normal. Why? It's quite obvious that Verstappen was going to slot into that gap if he had the opportunity. So what? There's no threat from behind. They are a minute back. If Hamilton's tyres blow up because he's pushed too hard, just pit again. Absolutely baffled as to what Mercedes are doing. As you say, shadow of their former selves is probably the perfect phrase for what they're like in 2024. And yeah, it's going to be a 7 out of 10 from me and a 7 from the fans as well. Sergio Perez qualified 18th, started 16th, and did not finish. It's a 1 out of 10 for Sergio Perez for me. As everyone knows, a portion more blame to Kevin Magnussen with the particular incident. However, I do understand and see what people are saying around the part that Perez had to play. And I think it was just stupid from both sides, both parties, because Perez, as you see on the replay, does glances again, knows K-Mag is there. All he would need to do to just defend his own car and his own position is to just make, especially, I'm sure he knows that is Kevin Magnussen, notorious for his, I'm not backing out, bruv.
Maybe he thought it was Hulkenberg. Maybe Magnussen needs, like, you know how they have the yellow T-cam? Maybe like Magnussen should flash a different, like flash,
yes,
just so you know
like
it's
K-Mag sign. Yeah. But either or, I think Perez could have been safer in the way in which he drove that. But I also understand that he would have gone, there's no way he's going to... Oh, no, he did. And then he's sideways and into the wall. But no, it's still a horrible weekend from Perez to be knocked out in Q1 and then not be a little bit safer on lap 1. It has to be a 1 out of 10, unfortunately.
I've gone for a 2 out of 10 for Sergio Perez. Yeah, he's put himself, unfortunately, in that position to be caught up in a mix because he's not even had a crash in qualifying like last year. That was just the pace of his lap to qualify 18th and get knocked out. He set a lap and just couldn't do it. And I mentioned about the deja vu of Aston Martin and they get upgrades and go backwards. Deja vu with Perez of European season starts and he's like, peace, I'm off. Like, I'm back to getting knocked out in Q1 or going off into gravel traps and things. Perez is now 5th in the championship and Ferrari, the constructors, like,
they're coming.
Last year it was like, oh well, you know, he still finished 2nd in the championship and had that stinker of a season, but I don't think the Red Bull's as good as it was last year.
Nope, doesn't have that advantage.
He has to be there to help the constructors championship now. I think genuinely with Ferrari being the way they are and just maximising the results, like,
and McLaren,
we said it.
They're coming.
And
as
McLaren,
well.
yeah,
they are coming. And by the end of the season, if this continues, Red Bull could finish 3rd in the constructors, but win the drivers' championship, which would be insane. But let's see how it unfolds. The fans gave Perez a 2 out of 10. Max Verstappen qualified 6th, started 6th. Let me guess where he finished. 6th.
I've gone for a 7 out of 10.
That's basically a 0 for him.
Yeah, it's basically a 0. I think that is the lowest grade he has ever got in drive ratings because even the races like Singapore came back to the field and actually delivered quite a good P4. I think this all comes down to the fact that he very much could have got, in my opinion, like a P3 in qualifying. The Red Bull was not the best car, but without Max's mistake at the final part of qualifying, he could have maybe qualified P3. There was a gap to slot into P3, P4, and then you run a normal race, he's finishing P3 or P4. I think it's actually his worst race in goodness knows how long. Yeah,
I've gone for a 7 out of 10 as well for Max. He did a decent enough job. Was struggling all through the weekend, and then finishing 6th. It's damage limitation, really. So, 7 from me. And the fans gave Max a 7 as well. So who is our P1? It's Charles Leclerc. Thank you very much. P1, 10 out of 10. Charles Leclerc wins the Monaco Grand Prix. Thank you very much. And yes, he was the only one that we gave a 10 to.
Yep, and it is mine as well, because like you say, only driver to get a 10. Well done, Charles Leclerc. You did it.
Well done, Charles. You did do it. You did, and it's just great, isn't it? It's just great. It's a great time to be alive. And that is it. We're done. Driver ratings done and dusted. Sorry that it wasn't probably the most insightful driver ratings we've ever done, but that's because the race was quite possibly one of the... I actually think that might have been the worst race I've ever seen.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, because it killed it immediately with the red flag. You knew it was over and going to be dull. And boy, did it deliver in being absolutely horrendous.
Certainly is. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. We'll see you soon. Lots more content coming your way. We're going to discuss whether Alpine are actually going to drop Ocon for Canada. That's the next thing you'll see coming out.
Spicy.
And then we'll be back into all the usual content next week for the Canadian Grand Prix. And we'll be live on Twitch throughout the weekend as normal. So we'll see you very soon. Lots of love.
Bye.